Oh, man. You're watching Real Simple News on Thursday, May 28th. My name is Cale McCullough, and today's top news story: Hood Democrats destroy quote-unquote white businesses in George Floyd race riot. 7 people shot in Louisville. 7 people were shot in Louisville, Kentucky on Thursday night as a protest broke out over the shooting death of Breonna Taylor. Reports said hundreds of protesters stormed through the streets of downtown Louisville calling for justice in the marching of the killing of Taylor, who was shot at least 8 times when officers forcibly entered her apartment and to serve a warrant. A total of 7 people were shot. 1 was in critical condition. And so this is going on. There is multiple black people who were shot at this time that are causing complex riots. And so, total of 7 people were shot. 1 was in critical condition, according to WDRB-TV. The shots were fired around 11:30 p.m. as swarms of protesters gathered near Metro Hall in Louisville. Metro Police Department did not say where the gunfire came from. Quote, "It's unclear at this time whether or not we will be able to provide additional updates this evening," an LMPD spokesperson said. Taylor, a 26-year-old aspiring nurse, was killed on March 13th when Louisville police officers stormed into her apartment to execute a drug warrant. So the circumstances here, again, are an accidental death. And so this is the thing that's kind of problem with these hood Democrats and these Black Lives Matter people, is that they inherently, this entire race riot here is racist, because the black people say that the white people are inherently causing all of it, like killing the black people because white people are bad and they're oppressive. It's this narrative that they've been trying to sell here for a long time, that a lot of it has to do with they're trying to get jobs and raises at work. And so they're trying to use racism in order to promote themselves, because a lot of these people are like who got these like proof degrees like in diversity politics, how to like hire minorities and get rid of all the white dudes and the white women. It's like they think that like the white people are the people who are the ones who are being violent, and well,
the studies just don't show this to be the truth. Because now I'm not trying to shame black people for what I'm about to say. They're lovely people, and you can never judge a group of people based upon the outliers. It would just be stupid to do so, but facts are facts, and the facts are that black people are way more violent against white people. When you actually look at the statistics and you adjust it for the population, this is a meme that's been going around, and I fact checked it a little bit here. Let's look into the fact check that I looked at, see whether or not the meme is BS, because let's be real. Sometimes they are. So the homicides per year, here's, International Business Times is probably going to be a pretty decent source. I looked at the numbers myself too. They were actually correct. So here's the actual number of homicides that, so we look, noting that there are more white on white homicides, being fair, and there are less black on black homicides. But when you actually look at the number of black on white homicides, it does look as if there are quite a bit more. There's 500, there's 226. And so when you adjust for the fact that black people are 13.4% of the population, then you have to take that 500 and then multiply it times 1.866, because that's how the math works out. And then you get like 933. And then so you divide 266 divided by that, and you get almost a 3x multiplier on these particular numbers. It depends on what year you want to look at. But in general, it doesn't seem as if there's any sort of epidemic of violence by white people against black people. It definitely, when you look at the crime statistics, it definitely looks as if it's the other way around, that indeed, actually, the people up in the hood have been doing drive-by shootings and gangbangs. No, sorry, that was the wrong word. Gang beatings. They've been doing gangbangs too, but that was the wrong word. They've been doing these drive-by shootings and like that have been the equivalent of mass shootings for so long that the media just stopped paying attention to it. Of course, these are just hood people, right? But these hood people, they're saying that like this cop that put his neck on this dude's neck, he put his knee on this guy's neck and then he suffocated him, did something. There's stories going about that they actually knew each other. So here's another reason why this whole thing is just stupid. Okay. All these people rioting, like, look at what these people are doing. They're like looting. They're just like, here's a dude with a hammer breaking into a one of those checkout machines at Target, attempting to steal the money in order to get back at the wealthy white business owners that provide them with all of their goods and services. Here's them carrying out flat screen TVs because obviously these people are victims of police brutality, or should be victims of police brutality at some point in time. Here is the they're attempting here in this video to flip a ambulance, because it's the EMTs that are the ones that are hurting the black people and killing them in the streets, right? Right. Like it's the dude driving the ambulance that should be terrorized by a whole bunch of thugs who look like they might be gangsters and have guns. I'm sorry. If you're sagging and bagging, bro, and you look like you're in the hood, and a cracker like me might be like, yo, this dude might be in a gang, you shouldn't be out protesting police brutality, because you don't have any sort of room to talk. Because when you adjust the numbers, black people can commit 200 aggravated assaults for every aggravated assault by a white person against a black person. Now, I'm not trying to rag. Of course, these are outliers. Hey, man, every group of people's done horrible things, man. But let's just be real. It would be completely crazy to think that the world would be better off if the white people were in control of America. Because, like, if the black people were in control of America and these crime statistics were happening, the white man's so bad. He's so bad. The white people that set the slaves free, right? The party of Lincoln, the shining city on the hill, with the Americans, the wonderful, beautiful people who, sorry, I forgot to have my light on. The wonderful, beautiful Americans who brought you democracy, who set the slaves free. We're getting guilt tripped for being racist because of something that a black cop probably also would have done too, because this cop who did this to, what was his name? shoot, it's in the George Floyd, right? And so this guy, he looked like a nice guy. Like, this sucks. He didn't look like an angry dude. Like, who's that other dude, the quote unquote jogger guy that was trespassing and he turned out to be really aggressive? He was like the kind of guy that, like, we want the cops to come and, like, harass and get rid of because he's up in people's face like, what, wait, dude, you're a person, what, dude, what, you got a problem with me? He's like, you wonder why the cops are coming after you, dude. Like, I got a story. Here's my story, okay, about when last time I got thrown in jail, caused me to stop drinking, okay? I was out at this entrepreneur event and we were drinking and, like, I had a few two drinks and I go to this other bar. And we were outside of the bar, and the one person I was with got kicked out because he was too drunk. The bartender was like, "You're too drunk. You can't be here." I was like, "He's not drunk. Whatever." I was watching. He was like, "I'm drunk. Well, whatever. I'm drunker than him." And, it was like, "Okay, you're out." I'm like, "Huh? What?" Because that's not what I meant. I wasn't saying like I'm too drunk to be here. I didn't see the dude drink, but he was drinking shots at the bar. So like. I was like, I'm not going to leave. He's like, okay, I'm calling the cops. I was like, call the cops. Because I was on the sidewalk. It was a sidewalk cafe. I was like, I have a right to be here. I'm on the sidewalk. And, like, cops come. And I'm like, I'm mouthing off to this dude. And then the cop, they're like, oh, what's going on? I'm like, well, this dude's in the wrong. I'm just on the sidewalk. He's like, okay, well, let me see your ID. And I said, I was like, no. And so this cop threw me on the sidewalk. He's like, bam, took my arm. Bam, throws me on the sidewalk, like scrapes up my shoulder. Like I had bruises. I'd spent the night in jail and I was cussing, like being hella disrespectful to this cop. And I just spent the night in solitary confinement and it was really unpleasant and it was very cold. They did not give me a blanket. I had cuts, bruises. They did not help me. And guess what? I don't know if you noticed this or not. I am a cracker. It just so happens I'm an engineer, and I actually am a pasty white boy. Yes, as you can see, the shininess of the pasty white boy that is Cale McCullough. Yes. I, too, actually got thrown on the sidewalk and got a knee in my neck by some white cop. Why? Can anybody tell me why the cop stuck his knee on my neck and rubbed my face in the sidewalk? Well, it's because I was disrespectful as a motherfucker, dude. I mean, if you come up to the cop and you're like, what? Yeah, piece of trash, whatever, blue lives don't matter, fuck you, blah, blah, blah. What do you think they're going to do, dude? I mean, if the dude's black, dude, if the cop's black, he probably would have threw me on the ground and stuck his boot on my neck too. Now, I'm not trying to say that cop that killed this guy is in the right. Obviously, he was not in the right. Obviously, this guy, who seems like a very nice guy, aggravated the other dude that he knew, and it escalated. And this is the pattern going on with these hood Democrats. Here we are with the hood Democrats screaming, "I can't breathe," as they're setting someone else's property on fire. You want to know why you can't breathe? Because you're setting somebody else's property on fire. You're stealing their shit. You're trespassing. If I had a gun, I would shoot these looters myself. If it was my property, I would. I wouldn't hesitate. I'm sorry. Not all lives matter. Looters' lives don't matter. But hey, let's give it up to this dude. This dude, where is he at? In Minneapolis. The Planet Fitness got trashed. And this guy is just kicking it there inside of Planet Fitness, just doing his thing. He's like, nope. I got a gym membership, man. Gold star to him. Here we have This dude's beating up some disabled person. What are they doing? Elderly person in a wheelchair was trying to stop looting. And so this dude sprayed her in the face with a fire extinguisher because, like, all lives matter, right? Except for that little old lady's life. Let's see what we got now. We got people destroying public property from people who try to protect you. The people who are protecting you from the bad cops. Because, if we didn't have the cops, we'd have another group of really bad apple terrorist scumbag pieces of dog crap. They're not even that good running the place, dude. You topple one dictator, what are you going to get? You're going to get another dictator in its place that's as bad or even worse than the last dictator. And, so maybe the white man should just give up his power to these people, right? Because it's the white man that is oppressing all of these hood Democrats who vote for socialism, who spend their life listening to hip hop music and talking about beating people up. I mean, not as if white people don't do that, but I mean, these hood people are all, there's plenty of stupid white people in with these hood Democrats. But let's be real. This is the target demographic that the Democrats, or as I like to call them, the Democrats, that are trying to put the coalition of this group of people together with the illegal immigrants. Because I'm in Oregon, and 1 out of 20, I just found out yesterday, 1 out of 20 people in my state is an illegal immigrant, mostly from Mexico. So the coalition bloc are the rad femmes, the ivory tower privileged white people, like in the tech industry in Silicon Valley. And then you've got the hood Democrats, the people up in the hood who are gangster AF, who loot and destroy. And then you've got the socialists here. And then who else you've got on their side? You've got the so you got the illegal immigrants with the rad femmes, the ivory tower liberals, and the socialists. And then and the Bernie Bros. That's who we forgot. We can't forget about the Bernie Bros, right? And then it's versus the 5 of 6 white males who are Republicans now, who don't loot and riot, along with the classy black people who don't just like listen to what everybody else around them tells them and to think. And you have all the smart people and the business people and the let's not forget about the heroes of the show here.
So tell me who you are.
The rednecks.
Free Americans, yeah.
And what are you doing today?
We were out here yesterday too, down on the original protest site. So
and these guys are awesome. These rednecks are awesome. You're like, apparently these guys are the racist rednecks guys that the MSNBC keeps trying to show you, brainwash you to think is the imaginary misogynistic racist pig boogeyman.
And why are you protecting
the
this
imp
store?
Boogeyman.
Well, I mean, this wasn't exactly a specified action. We've been kind of...
Except for, as it turns out, they're actually just Americans. And they're really fun to drink with. And we like them. And when push comes to shove, they show up with their guns. And there's no more shoving after that. But these are the scary white people that are oppressing the black people that they freed, that they have diversity programs in their ivory towers to make sure that there's extra black people, because you have to make sure there's an equal amount of Latino that just showed up, all these illegal immigrants, now that they're, almost they're going up to 25% of the population. We have to make sure right away that there's 25% Latinos in all of these really good jobs that the Americans have. So, which means one thing, because they need more Latinos now. All the white dudes are now on the chopping block. And so we need to somehow now care about the hood Democrats. I'm sorry, man. But hey, let's now turn over to shaming white people. Because wow. I mean, look at that. Wow. Did you know white people could be that freaky? Wow. I mean, for real. Is this like out of like, are they like staging some sort of movie? Damn. You know, white people, we got our own problems, bro, but like, we ain't a threat to black people, bro. Moving on here to the next story here from Reuters. Wait, hold on. Sorry. And that is the right one, right? Next story here from Reuters News. House Republicans to sue Pelosi over proxy voting in pandemic. U.S. House of Representatives will sue Democratic Speaker Nancy Pelosi. The Republicans will sue Democratic Speaker Nancy Pelosi over rule changes that allow members to vote in each other's behalf during the coronavirus pandemic. Republican aides said on Tuesday. I'm going to have to agree with them on here. That was pretty shady. So I personally think that they should be able to vote remotely because it's really easy for us to verify this. There's only so many of these senators. All of these things are recorded. They're on TV. There's fact checkers. Nobody's going to be messing around with, like, these people should just be able to email in their vote. Like, it could even be like, they could even do it on TV. Say, I vote on MSNBC. Like, no, man, I'm voting this way, dude. It's like, who cares? Like, it doesn't matter where they're at. But, you know, this was kind of messed up what they did here. They changed the rules because they wanted to pass their bill while nobody else was there. And that's not legal. You have to have noted. You can't just change the rules all of a sudden. You can't. There's a procedure that you have to go through in order to change the rules. Apparently, they didn't follow it. And next story here from the New York Post. Iranian girl 13 beheaded by father in honor killing as she slept. Ramina Afsharif was killed Thursday by her father, Reza Asharif, as punishment for running away with a 34-year-old man from her hometown of Talish. I'm not quite exactly sure what exactly goes through the head of a parent when they're killing their child. That's pretty sick and twisted. These Muslims do this stuff all the time, man. I mean, you can't judge a book by its cover. You can't judge the whole group by the actions of the few, but it seems like this kind of stuff is rampant. They have honor killings all the time. Freedom's awesome, especially treating people respectfully and kindly. And it seems as if this woman who was a victim of pedophilia, I think 13 is definitely, and 34, that's definitely pedophilia. She was a victim. This woman's a victim of rape, and then she was just beheaded. These people are cruel. I mean, not all Muslims are the same. I'm not trying to say they are, but this stuff is rampant. The Taliban rapes boys. They just think it's okay to just rape boys. They do female genital mutilation. They like literally cut women's clit off. That is so stupid, dude. That's like the best part down there for her. But, oh, she gets some pleasure, so you got to cut it off. And then you're not allowed to dislike Muslims because that's Islamophobia, but you're allowed to punch a Nazi in the face. You're allowed to hate sexist and misogynist people as long as they're white. But if they're brown, you're not allowed to hate them because that's Islamophobia. It's only okay to hate Nazis because they hate and kill Jews. But it's not okay to dislike Muslims because they hate Jews and want to kill Jews. It's a logic fail. It doesn't make sense. They're conflicting beliefs. This is pretty common with liberals. They have conflicting beliefs a lot because they value fairness over self-protection and group loyalty. Unless you violate the values of fairness, in which case that is a value of group loyalty. But when your belief systems conflict, well, you end up with really hypocritical views. This next story from Newsweek says Biden widens lead over Trump to 11 points as concerns over president's handling of economy grows in new poll. And so here's a sparkling example of the fake news media at work. So he says the gap widened to 11 points in new poll. And so Biden finds here, sorry. So this leads you to assume, there's this huge amount of support for Joe Biden all of a sudden, right? Except for no, it's fake news. There was a bunch of polls, and as it turns out, they didn't actually have the same results. When you read down further, where most people won't read, they don't read beyond the first couple of paragraphs. They'll read the title. They'll read the first two sentences. And then when you read on, they'll say, some of the other polls are saying he's only 5.3 or only 3 points ahead. Oh, well, now that's quite a different story than 11-point lead now, huh? And so where's this lead? Where is this lead? Oh, so the numbers were what? It was that, Donald Trump has 43% now. That he used to have 39. So what the title of the article should read is that new poll shows 5% increase in support for Donald Trump, except for they completely misled you. So this is why you should like and subscribe to this channel, because I will continue to expose the wool that has been pulled over your eyes and the wolf who has cleverly put the wool in front of your eyes. Actually, I didn't even notice it was there. I used to be a brainwashed liberal. I didn't even question this stuff until thankfully that the Walk Away campaign pulled me out of the matrix. The next story here from New York Post: George Floyd calls on the end of gun violence in resurfaced video. The 46-year-old Minnesota man who died at the hands of white cops. You have to make sure to say, very sure that people know it's a white cop, because there's no way that a black cop would have done the same thing in the exact same situation. No, only a white cop is capable of doing that, because black people are perfect. Next story from the New York Post. Kansas soldier saves countless lives by ramming gunmen with his car. A Fort Leavenworth soldier likely saved countless lives by ramming his car into an active shooter who was randomly firing on a bridge, police said. The active duty soldier was waiting in traffic early Wednesday on the Centennial Bridge, which connects Kansas and Missouri, when he witnessed a man firing shots from the span using at least two guns, the Kansas Star reports. The 34-year-old soldier and nearby Army installation stopped the gunman by, quote, striking the shooter with his vehicle, end quote. Leavenworth police told Pat Kitchens. That's an interesting last name. Does he like to cook? He must like to, with the last name like Kitchens, I bet he must like to cook. That's so awesome, dude. I would just love to just take somebody out like that. I hope if I'm ever put in that situation, I don't chicken out, dude, and be like a little pussy, dude. What's up with these people committing all these mass shootings? I know, it's like they're acting like hood Democrats or something, dude. It's like they acting like a man that can't control their emotions or something because somebody disrespected him. I think it's a pretty cowardly thing to do, to get a gun when people disrespect you. Next story here from Newsweek. Amy Schumer was invited to talk about black issues on Revolt Black News. And people are asking why, for obvious reasons. I mean, she looks pretty black, right? Yeah. Oh, no, she is actually black, but she's a Trump supporter. So that means that she's not black. So this is actually just proof that is true. The Trainwreck actress was invited as a guest on the Platform podcast. Damn, they switched it. Sorry, I got to repeat that again. So Schumer is facing criticisms on social media for participating in an episode of rapper Sean Diddy Combs' Revolt Black News that discussed George Floyd, the black man killed by police in Minneapolis. Because, you know, the last thing you need there is a white woman sticking up for black people, because, you know, that always works out so great. The stand-up comedian and actress was an invited guest on the Platform and podcast Wednesday night, which is designated to, or designed to, report news from the perspective of black people for black people. Hosted by journalist Jamal Hill, the Trainwreck star appeared in the latest 5 installments remotely, along with activist Sean King and Tamika Mallory and retired basketball player Steven Jackson. The episode discussed social justice issues such as police brutality in light of recent deaths of George Floyd and Ahmaud Arbery, the quote-unquote jogger who's extremely aggressive and who was trespassing. He was totally not jogging. Before then, he was walking, and then he came up to the house and he ran into it. Doesn't sound like a jogger to me. It sounds like a robber. So this is what really irritates me about white feminists, okay? And I will go off about white feminists. Don't even get me started about white feminists, okay? They are the scourge of the engineering community, along with minority replacists, which are minority groups who want to replace the white people. They exist. In fact, LinkedIn in 2016 actually got busted putting up slides saying they're trying to get rid of their white workers, that white people, they're just not fit to work in this job. And what happens is they sneak in through the diversity, through the human resources department. And Stefan Molyneux enlightened me as to how this happens, because he owned a tech company and spent 15 years in the industry, and he's seen these people firsthand. And this is what happens: is they don't have enough skills to actually get hired in the engineering department. Okay, so they get hired in the HR department, and they're the diversity people. And the reason they push their narrative is because the white man is oppressing them, because they got some bullshit degree in like feminism or African American studies or something that gives them a job where the only thing that they could do is hire minorities and women at companies where there's mostly white people. And so what they do is this is all this is all gratification. This is a method for the white woman to stay at the top, because everybody gets they have a soft spot for white women who've been are victims. And so when a white woman says that, like, she's been oppressed, and then they're really popular, everybody loves, they're really nice people, and like a lot of times they're hot, and then, like, people want to hook up with them, and so everybody wants to be nice to them. And so when they talk about being oppressed, everybody else then just assumes it to be true. Believe all women, hashtag believe all women. And they get hired and they get raises when they do this stuff, because it's the white man, it's the privileged white man who is the problem, because 76.5% of America is white, and thus most people in the workplace are expected to be white. And these people are the problem because they're the ones who are controlling America, and black people used to be slaves, and they took the land from the Native Americans who died from smallpox, because it was the New World, remember? That nobody lived there. But apparently it belongs to Native Americans only. Everybody else who actually owns houses here, you don't actually own your house. The American Indians, sorry, we're all Native Americans here, if we've been here for generations. No, it's the American Indians now are the ones who have all of the claim for all of your property, because it was their land, even though you own it. And your name is on the deed, and never in recorded history has their name been on the deed for the land. It has always been our people who have had the name on the deed, because the American Indians died from smallpox. But it is the white man that did this. It is the white man holding down the women, because the women are underpaid, even though facts actually show that indeed actually women actually control, get this, women control almost 2/3 of the money in the United States. This is from Walmart. I go over this a number of times, as much as I can. And this goes to show you exactly, says more than 60% of all personal wealth in the U.S. is controlled by women. And if you look at these startups, if you look at startups, they start 17% of startups, but they own 43% of businesses. Right. So obviously these numbers aren't working out. They control 85% of consumer spending. They also work 50 minutes less per day. So if anybody is underpaid, it's obviously the men, because the men are working 50 minutes per day more. But yet the women control almost 2/3 of the money. And we say 2/3 because this number is going up to 2/3, going more than 2/3, because of the low college graduation rate of men right now. And the reason why this is happening is because women, when they're in college, they're really pretty. Guys want to hook up with them. They pay their bills. Women just invest their money in themselves. They study. Everybody wants to study with them, so they get good grades. So they get this ahead. The guys, their age, they don't have money. So the women, because they're hot, they can just go out with an older dude. They can hook up with that guy. They can get him to buy them stuff. And then it ends up with women controlling 2/3 of the wealth and men working 50 minutes more per day. But it is the white woman that is oppressed. And that's because everybody else, including the black people, want to stick their penis inside of their vagina. And yeah, all of them. So they all just say, yes, you're so oppressed. We want to work with you, white woman, because I like your boobs. I want to see them. But since we're in the workplace, it's never going to happen. So I'm just going to be a beta male orbiter. I'm going to say yes to everything you say. Say, yes, these other people oppressed you. And that's because these are the people who are climbing up the corporate ladder, not the engineers who are working really hard. They're the mostly white males, so they're getting replaced because you have to put more Latinos in, more black people, because the black students are trying really hard at school, right? So we need more black people to make up for how hard the white people are doing at school and how few of the black kids are actually enrolling into these programs. But the Latinos, their parents came in poor immigrants, and so they didn't have any money, and so they didn't have an education. But we need to make an equal amount of them in all of these engineering jobs. Because why? Latinos vote, they buy stuff. That's what it's about. It is really about them being it's a marketing thing. They want Latinos to think we're not hiring you, we're pro-Latino. But there's a problem, is that if you're trying to hire people for engineering jobs, like, they actually have to have the degree. And like why a lot of these white people have these degrees is because their family was good at math and they helped them out with math. And so you can't just snap your fingers and then magically all of a sudden make an equal amount of Latinos in the engineering jobs and all these high quality jobs, because they take generations in order to actually develop this wealth. Right. But these people in these HR departments they're getting raises, and they're able to slip their friends in the door. So what they do is they end up taking over, and they kick out all the white dudes and all the white women because they're a threat. They have higher standards than all of these new people, like the coding boot. See, because I'm a programmer. This is what clued me into it, is that you got all these boot camp graduates from the coding boot camps, right? They're all looking for jobs. So how is the only way that these people could maintain their job when their skills totally suck at programming, right? Compared to people going through engineering schools, right? You get rid of all the white dudes and all the white chicks, and then you hire immigrants, and then you get them to do the work, and then you just kind of cover for the fact that you don't actually have the engineering capital. So you can't just like snap your fingers and just come up with that stuff, dude. It's in control of the hands of the majority of people in the United States, as it should be. And you can't just distribute it, because it's like socialism, dude. Like, people, you got a farm, and it's like capitalist farm, and it's producing all this stuff, and then the government's like, nope, your farmer's making too much money, we got to take your farm and give it back to the people. And then you give it back to the people, and they don't know how to run anything about running a farm. They don't care about it. They don't produce anything. And next thing you know, you're in a line that's half a mile long to get bread. And you get there, and then they're out, dude. That's communism. That's socialism, dude. That is what you get with socialism. And that's what these people want. And that's why they put these white women up. It's because they're popular, dude. And it's like they say all this shit. They advocate for socialism and for taking gotta attack white male privilege, because like somehow like white dudes being rich is gonna somehow is like bad for you. It's gonna be way better off if your fellow Americans are broke as fuck and they ain't got shit, because that makes a lot of goddamn sense. But to a hood Democrat, it's all the goddamn same, because you don't know anything. Next article here from Reuters. Dow Jones opens higher as Boeing resumes 737 MAX production. What the fuck? They're still making that plane, dude. I'm sorry, did this pandemic not happen or something? It's like, yo, dude, here, wait, hold on. Sorry. Okay, so the 737 MAX, let me defend it for a little bit. It has been in operation for like many, many decades, since like the 60s, 70s. And the reason why it went down was because they had stuck the stairs. They used to load luggage in some place that was different, and it messed up the autopilot. It messed up something. The weight was off. It's an autopilot error. The plane itself has been flying for a long period of time, and then all of a sudden there was an autopilot error. I don't know what to say, but I mean, the pandemic happened. People aren't flying anymore. What are they doing making these airplanes anymore? I don't want to ever get on one myself, even though a lot of planes have gone down. It's not just the 737 MAX. It was just in the media all the time. I don't think it's not safe. I just, who wants to fly on that plane again? Next article from Newsweek. FDA gives a go-ahead for trial of experimental drug to prevent COVID patients from needing ventilators. Yes, this is great. Its creators hope to recruit over 200 patients for the study. You want to volunteer for that one? I don't know, man. You know, if I'm on COVID, dude, they put you on those ventilators, dude. You got like a 2/3 chance of dying. So, I mean, up to 90%, sometimes 100% of people die on those ventilators on one day. You know, any given day. Could be everybody dies. I'd rather take the chance, the experimental thing. You know, if I'm going to die, use my body for science. Next video from New York Post. George Floyd protesters fly off car. So this dude, sorry. I wasn't planning on showing this one, actually. It kind of, I did the last one. So this, these protesters are pretty, sorry, I've got it. Sorry, I thought they had the video in there. My fault. An article about the video, and then they show a video, but it's not the video, right? It's kind of infuriating. But these are the errors that you see in the mainstream media a lot. Yeah, the guy was on the hood of the cop car, and then the cop started going, and then he flew off, and he hit his head, and he went unconscious. I don't know exactly what happened to the dude, but he did it to himself. You know, that sucks. He went unconscious, but dude, you get up on top of a cop car with a cop in the car, and you're jumping up and down on the cop car. The cop has a right to kill you, dude. Like, I mean, it was relatively mild what he did, but then the dude wouldn't get off the car. Had he gotten off the car, it wouldn't have happened. And all of this violence over a cop being white, and that's in reality is what's happening, is all of these riots are happening because the cop was white. If the cop was black, they wouldn't be rioting. They're only rioting because the cop was white. You have to call it like it is, man. This is the problem. People don't want to say it. They don't want to be rude. Next article here from New York Post. Derek Chauvin, cop who pinned George Floyd, has murder sprawled outside of his home. Murderer. He was not a murderer. It's a homicide. A murder means that you intentionally It means that you didn't have any sort of reason to do that. It's like manslaughter versus murder. Like, manslaughter means you had a reason to, or it wasn't your fault. Whereas a murderer was like you went out and murdered somebody. Like, you were like, that dude's going to die, and you killed him. So, yeah, let's not be doing that shit. I mean, the dude fucked up. Could have been a black cop. That's what's fucked up about this whole thing. Next article from New York Post, or from Newsweek. Contact tracing apps could become permanent once the pandemic is over. Privacy advocates are concerned there could be no definite end to digital tracing introduced to stem coronavirus outbreaks. See, this is the problem with giving up your rights. They're not going to give them back. They're going to say, look, this is so useful. It helped to protect you, quote unquote. And then now all of a sudden now they can trace everything you do. I'm pretty sure they can already do that, but now they can trace you even farther. And we shouldn't be having this. The entire pandemic was bunk AF. Each year, there are about 250,000 to 500,000 flu deaths per year every year. That's the average. It goes even higher than that. That's just the averages. And then when you do U.S. is 5% of the world's population, what it ends up turning out to be is 25,000 to 50,000 Americans end up dying per year from the flu. And so that would, as of and a flu season is how long? 6 months, right? So how long was this COVID season? This COVID season is pretty much almost over. And guess what? How many people died? 100,000, right? So now, because of a flu that never is going to be this bad again, we have lost our rights. Like they now are spying on us. And this is why you cannot just give in to Democrats, dude. This is what you have to understand about Democrats, is that they used to be the party that owned slaves. They started the KKK. They opposed women's suffrage. And why did they do that? Because they are control freaks. Because they want to control you. It's always been about control. That's slavery, control. Women's suffrage, control. Right? That's the truth. And what is about this pandemic? They want to lock you up. They want to quarantine you because of the COVID boogeyman. But illegal immigrants, there's 1,600 of them convicted of homicide each year. Just about 1,600 illegal immigrants every year convicted of homicide. There's 500,000 of them that get past the border. They just sneak in, then bam. So you go over 20 years, man. You figure that 2 and 3 murderers get away. It turns out to be there's like 100,000 homicides from illegal immigrants. If you go off of the numbers and you do the math on it, just from like since 2000. And you got 10 million illegal immigrants on top of that. So they want to lock you up in your house. They want to trace you. They want to know everybody you talk to so they can bust them for not social distancing. And we gave them the power and they're just not going to give it back, man. So we got to take it back from them, because this is the thing about Democrats. They don't stop. They keep taking and taking and taking, because that's how socialism works, is that in order to keep it afloat, you have to continue to take from someone else in order to give it to the people that you're trying to get to vote for you. Yeah. This is why private industry is way better than the government, because the government can really suck sometimes. This next article here from New York Post, Prince Andrew allegedly compared teen accuser to his daughter before sex. Prince Andrew teased Virginia Robert Guthrie for being just a few years older than his own daughter before having sex with her for the first time, she said in an interview. The longtime accuser of the told the 4-part Netflix docuseries Jeffrey Epstein Filthy Rich that the British loyalist sexually abused her at 17. And this was a picture that was taken of it. And I looked into it, and I can't tell you the exact country, but it's in Europe, and the legal age of consent is 16. Congratulations, you caught a pedophile! I'm in Oregon, and the legal age of consent is 18. The next state over is Washington, where the legal age of consent is 16. They're trying to do this to get attention, dude. They're trying to do this to extort money out of Prince Andrews. In the reality of the situation, any dude who is going to have sex with a chick that is literally their daughter's age is probably going to bring that up. There's absolutely much ado about nothing here. Everything about this Jeffrey Epstein thing was absolutely blown out of proportion, and it's because the mainstream media gets you to click on the articles. Like, this whole thing with Epstein is a complete load of horseshit, because if you look at what the dude was actually doing, what were they actually doing? They were having rave parties, doing a bunch of ecstasy, and having orgies with a bunch of hookers. doing loads of cocaine and ecstasy and every other drug. Where are these girls coming from? They got them from the trailer park, dude. They're like candy raver chicks from the trailer park, dude. You're like, oh, the secret has been revealed now. The mainstream media is just doing this to get you to click on it so they can make money. In reality, look, man, the girl's the one that should be ashamed for being a hooker, dude. Like, if you're a hooker and you're a teenager and you're being like, people are picking you up at the trailer park because there's candy ravers there, it's on you, girl. It's on you, girl. Yo, my kid's like 11. I'm raising that kid to not do that. If you do that, okay, if you're a little child and that dude does that too, that dude's a pedophile, all right? If you're in a state where it's 16, at the legal age of consent is 16, and you do that, and the dude's a prince, you had sex with the prince, it was legal, you were 17, what the fuck is wrong with this bitch? You're fucking ridiculous. Ridiculous. Nonsensical. You had sex with a prince. And you did drugs on their private yacht with a bunch of other teenage hooker candy raver sluts. I'm sorry, women need to take their accountability for their own actions, dude. I've seen these I used to throw raves back in the day. I even had like over 2,000 people at one of my parties once. And you see these candy raver sluts. They come in and they start slutting out because they're just experimenting with sexuality. And then they start hooking up with people. And then you see the older people creeping out, being pervs. And they do it. And then people know about it. And number of people think it's creepy, pervy. Vast majority of people really just don't care. It depends on what area code you're in. I'm sorry, if you're 17 and the legal age of consent is 16, you're so stupid if you think I'm actually going to feel bad for you, dude, that you had sex with some rich dude. Come on, give me a break. Take some personal accountability for yourself. Don't be a hooker and do drugs and hang out in a trailer park with a bunch of meth freaks, okay? Next article from New York Post. Pompeo says U.S. will begin reimposing sanctions on Iran. It's good. They like killing Jews in Iran. So, you. Sorry. It's totally okay to not like people who want to kill Jews. They literally don't like Jews over there. They also don't like Americans. But you know what? Not all Iranians are the same. In fact, most of them aren't like that. It's crazy old people in the Middle East. They all went batshit crazy. Let's be real. They're religious nut jobs. This used to not be this way. The Middle East in the 50s was a bastion of feminism and liberalism. And then it went to hell in a handbasket when all of these crazy wingnut fanatical terrorists started killing everybody and making everybody's life hell over there. So it's okay to not like them because they behead people and bury people alive and burn them alive. And they gouge out their eyes and they put them in cages and they march them through the desert. They shoot them. They strip their clothes naked and they just bury their bodies into ditches with these bulldozers. But it's not okay to not like them because that's Islamophobia. But it's okay to punch a Nazi. It's okay to hate a sexist and a misogynist, but it's not okay to criticize Islam because that's Islamophobia. Next article from New York Post. Nancy Pelosi accuses Mark Zuckerberg of, quote, pandering to the White House, end quote. The House Speaker lashed out on social media, into social media giant Facebook on Wednesday, accusing founder Mark Zuckerberg of pandering to the White House after he refused to police political speech on his platform. Quote, Facebook, all of them, they're all about making money. Their business model is about making money at the expense of ... And so that's great. that Mark Zuckerberg does not want to affect the political process. Let's talk about Twitter for a moment, because Twitter banned political advertising. And so they're saying, no, they're not trying to affect the political process. That's why they don't want to have ads. So what does this end up doing? It ends up affecting the political process, right? That's what they're trying to do. They're trying to affect the political process. They apparently kind of quote unquote have a right to do this. No, this is a perversion. This whole Citizens United thing is absolutely completely perverted, because they're trying to say Citizens United was about some group of people who tried to make a movie about Hillary Clinton because she's like this absolute monster. And they put too much money, more money than you can put in for a campaign contribution. And then they got in trouble with the Federal Elections Commission about it for FEC violation. And the Supreme Court said it's free speech because it's speech and you don't have any limit on your speech. And so this has been perverted to say that you have unlimited amount of money that you can contribute to any sort of political campaign when it comes to media, which is complete bullshit nonsense, because let's be real, only a limited amount of people would actually be able to afford that. It's not like it used to be, where you would have to give a limited number of contributions to a political candidate, and that candidate would then have a limited, they would have to actually get people to support them. Instead, now you can get people from outside of the country and corporations who are controlled by groups of people whose shareholders are not all in the United States. They're outside of the United States too. Those people are now allowed to contribute money towards speech in our election. They don't have free speech inside of our country. They don't. Foreigners don't have unlimited right to free speech in our elections. The entire point of having a federal elections commission is to protect us from foreign people putting money and stuff into our political process and people abusing it. But with these social media companies, what they're using is this, what's called Section 203, and it's 47 U.S. Code Section 203, and it's the publisher versus platform argument. And what it does is it says that kids aren't allowed to view pornography. Well, it doesn't say exactly this. I'm giving you the layman's legal definite or explanation here, is that kids aren't allowed to view porn. It's federally illegal for them to view porn. Kids can view porn on the internet, and therefore companies have a responsibility to protect children from viewing or eliminate the porn from the children's site and things that are similar to porn. That would be federally illegal. And it's not worded exactly like that, but that's what the courts have ruled. That's how it actually works. And so what Mark Zuckerberg is doing is they have this encryption thing on their Facebook Messenger. And so this is why Mark Zuckerberg is saying this. There's a hidden reason as to why he's saying this, and you have to know the specifics of the all the trouble that they can get in. Is that they are supposed to protect the children from porn, but there's groups of people on Facebook who are using this encrypted messenger platform to distribute child pornography. They're also giving pornography to kids, like people chatting with kids and then giving them porn of like dick pics and to like teenage girls, right? Later, it would completely illegal for them to do that. So Facebook is they're not doing what they're supposed to do under Section 230. They are, or 203, sorry. No, it's 230, sorry. Instead, they're using it to police what they call hateful conduct, which is basically code word for conduct that advertisers don't want to pay to be associated with. Yes, that is exactly what it is. I'm a YouTuber. I have to deal with this nonsense. It is exactly that. It's the advertisers don't want to be associated with hate speech or with conspiracy theories. Not all of them don't want. There are advertisers that actually want to be associated with that. Like if you go to these websites or some of these YouTubers that have been demonetized, they actually do get ads. Like people pay them to do ads. So whatever Facebook is saying here that the advertisers don't want to pay for the ads, this is a lie. This is clearly a lie because the YouTubers are getting paid to do ads. So it's not that it's a maximization. They want to maximize the amount of money they can make from the ads. It's not that advertisers won't pay for that ad space. It's that they can make more money on the ad space, giving it to somebody else who doesn't have a negative emotion associated with their brand. I'm getting good with the branding thing. I am doing consulting. If you want me to help you, I'm actually getting good with branding. So here is the problem. Here you got Twitter. Twitter is obviously saying they don't want to participate in, they don't want to change the electoral process. So what are they doing? They're taking a hit on their advertising revenue. So they're paying. It's a cost that's coming out of pocket that they are paying in order to affect the political process. Why? Because they said they want more grassroots action. Why? Why do they want more grassroots action? Because it drives more traffic to the site. So they're doing it to make money, but they're also doing it to affect the political process because they want to bring more traffic to their site. Because they're a corporation and that's what they do. So you can't trust these people. They're going to have to get broken up. Facebook is way too powerful. They have a crazy amount of data that makes it so that nobody else can compete with. You have to have their data if you want to compete, dude. Like you are forced to bow down and suck the Zuckerberg. You are. You have no choice but to bow down to the Ivy League Yale class of people because they are the ones that control you. They are your overlords. They are your masters. You shall obey. Or you flip them the bird. Move on to the next story here from NPR News. Michigan appeals court says barbershop must close despite its protests. I wish it wasn't like that, but unfortunately, they're trading in U.S. dollars. The United States government is a party to that. It's not like a product that you made, like I made, or let's say I bought this comb, I own this comb, and it is just my comb. The dollars, the U.S. dollars, it says on the back that it's property of the United States government. It's the people's money. It's the people's trust. It's the people own. When you exchange money for somebody else, it's the people that you're exchanging money with. They are a party to the platform. Thus, they are allowed to tell you whether or not you're allowed to do business. I don't think that maybe we should have them closed, but that's the legal reasoning for it. Next story from New York Post. Australian man with machete acquitted for sex fantasy identity mix-up. An Australian man who had been hired to carry out a stranger's home invasion sex fantasy, but who showed up machete and rope in hand at the wrong house has been acquitted of all charges. Ooh, man, that one's embarrassing. Terrence Leroy of Sydney was found not guilty of intimidation and weapons charges in what judge noticed was What the judge's news was an unusual mistaken of identity case. The Guardian reported Leroy and a second man had been hired on Facebook last year by a customer in a rural New South Wales region who wanted to be tied up while wearing only skivvies and have a broom handle rubbed around his underwear. Oh, it's a guy. That dude's a weirdo. Did you know that 1 out of 3 women has occasional rape fantasies? I'm not even joking, dude. It's actually legit. 1 in 3 women has occasional rape fantasies. See, that's why you can't trust what a lot of these women say about rape, because I'm sorry, if you're sitting there having fantasies about rape, how the fuck am I supposed to know you're not like, oh, I just wanted him to rape me so bad. And then like, oh, but he didn't. So, I'm going to tell everybody he raped me now. Like, I mean, I'm not saying that's, all right. Most women are telling you the truth. There is only a percentage of women that are crazy, and it's really large, right? But it's a temporal thing, right? Like, they're cray as fuck, but only for a small period of time. So chances are that the woman is not actually going to be in the situation where she's going to be potentially doing anything Lorena Bobbitt to you. But yeah, that's pretty creepy. Next time you're on a date, just remember, she's going home and banging herself with a monster black dildo, thinking about you raping her. Next story here from the New York Post. Sorry, we already went through here. Our number rednecks. We already saw those guys are awesome. What is today's date? Oh, that's from like 2 days ago. I think I'm going to do one more story. I was already on this one. Georgia DA, this is from the New York Post. Georgia DA hopeful wanted by cops after releasing campaign rap video. Georgia District Attorney candidate was wanted by cops for his role in a campaign video featuring a car cutting donuts in a parking lot. Charges his attorney ripped as a ploy to penalize his client for trying to motivate young voters. An arrest warrant was issued Tuesday by Columbus police. If he wasn't in the car, I think that's like freedom of the press right there. It might not be legal, dude, but that appears to me to be freedom of the press. All depends on whether or not it's reckless endangerment. I personally would make me want to vote for him more. I think that more DAs should do rap videos where they do donuts in parking lots. I think that would just be awesome. I'm not sure whether or not that would improve the quality of our justice system and the service provided to our citizens, but hey, it sounds fun. So just like most liberals, just because it sounds great, let's do it. Yeah. Here, I'm going to read one more article from the New York Post here. YouTube reportedly removing phrases critical of the Chinese Communist Party. There's still communists over there? I thought they turned capitalist. Like, what the hell happened, dude? It's like the old people didn't die or something, and they like the young people are like too respectful of the old people to say, look, this is stupid. I think it's because they'll take you out if you talk back. It's because authoritarians are spineless. And with that, I am done here for tonight. Thank you for watching Real Simple News with Kayla McCullough here on Thursday, May 29th. Now, it was the 28th, but now it's the 29th because I tried to do the show all day. So I got the new green screen cam set up. But then, I was going to have a better new cam, like main cam, but that got messed up. So I tried all day and I finally got it done. So I'm happy. Pat on the back. And until the next time, thank you for tuning in. And until next time, aloha, sayonara, farewell, peace be with you, and Godspeed.